But I'll stay with you, Martin, right before I get back to Collins and come back into the studio. And it has to do with some legal perspective that we'd like to have on some matters developing in Parliament. The Health Minister, Kukwa Menu, has been given a raw or a rough time, by the minority. And now they're calling for his head. They're calling for a vote of censure in Parliament. It's just that the question is whether they'd be able to get the numbers. But when you look at the dynamics in terms of the Procurement Act, in terms of Article 191 of the Constitution, 1992 Constitution of Ghana.
181.
181. In terms of the other dynamics, where do you sit? I know in the past you've been critical of Kweku Agyeman-Manu, but looking at what the committee's report has shown, are you not convinced that maybe he was right to do the things he did? Maybe, what do you think?
Not at all, Mr. Akapo. Not at all. Mr. Agyeman-Manu threw our constitution to the dogs. He breached it left, right, center. And we've rewarded him with probation in office, which shouldn't happen. Mr. Agyeman-Manu should have left immediately this matter came into the media, okay? Because what he has done is totally unacceptable. We have to make sure that we adhere to the Constitution. Somebody put it this way. If Mr. Agyeman-Manu had time to write letters, then surely he had time to present the agreement.
We seem to be losing
Parliament.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're back. Go ahead.
The point Agyeman-Manu had the time to write letters. I support that view that he equally had enough time to present the agreement to Parliament. So let's repeat, what is the breach? Al Maktoum's office and his company are an international entity. Al Maktoum, his company is an international entity, and the Constitution states in Article 181, Clause 5, that if the government is going to enter an agreement with an international entity, that agreement must be presented to Parliament. Okay? So it beggars believe that Mr. Agyeman-Manu can say that, oh, there wasn't enough time. No, there was certainly enough time, because even in Parliament, if you want something done urgently, there's a way to do it. I'm sure we've all heard of certificate of urgency and the rest.
Martin, I just want to find out on the point you made about, I think, the Attorney General. It has been forcefully pointed out that if Kweku Agyeman-Manu had no intention of coming to Parliament, he wouldn't have sought the AG's advice in the first place. How do you react to that? And again, you speak about a certificate of urgency. And some have said that, yes, he could have reached out to the Health Committee, but under the circumstances, he had already initiated processes with the Attorney General. Does that still make him culpable?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Listen, these extraditions, we are just catching at straw. We are catching a straw, okay? Look, the man just deliberately breached the Constitution. Pure and simple. We should stop making excuses for him. We should stop making excuses for him. And he even makes it worse by lying to Parliament. You see the perjury. You see, before he appeared before Parliament, he first put his responses on paper. You look at it, he signed it himself. He stated that he has not paid when they had paid. So this a man who set up from day one to just...
He said, Martin, he said that to the best of his knowledge, at that time, he wasn't aware that payment had been made. Let's be fair to him. He said that to the best of his knowledge, he wasn't aware at the time that there had been a payment, only for him to find out later that the payment had actually, the 2.8 million, had actually been effected. I mean, is that wrong? To the best of his knowledge, at that time, he wasn't aware payment had been made.
Now, listen, that phrase was used, it was used wrongly, because if he had cared to find out from BOG, he would have found that they had long paid. So the use of, to the best of his knowledge, doesn't cover him. Because as of the date he was writing the letter, that money had been paid. So if he had gone to the right sources, he would have found same. And look, listen, it's a couple. Let's not run from this. Before that money is paid, he has to sign off, please, by the Public Financial Management Act. You can't take that money out of the ministry's funds without Mr. Ajimamenu signing off. So he's the very person who signed off. Please stop making excuses for him. Let's repeat, let's not go away from this point. Let's interrogate this to the end. I'm saying that before money is paid with that sum over 2 million, almost 3 million Ghana, Mr. Ajimamenu must sign off. You see, so each ministry has an account, and the chief director doesn't have the mandate to sign for 2.8 million. No. There is no chief director who has such a mandate. Before such money is paid, okay, the minister must be involved. Please let's not add sentences to this. Let's stay here. Call all the public financial management specialists. They will tell you, you go from ministry to ministry. No chief director can pay this amount without the knowledge of the minister. It doesn't happen anywhere. It's not possible.
Right. Just finally, Martin, on this subject, just finally to you, I'll move on to my other guests, but just to find out from you. So is it to say that owing to these breaches, as you put them, the minister must necessarily go through this vote of censure in Parliament? And of course, if the minority is not able to muster the numbers in Parliament, the 184 or so people that they need, what then would you say? That the president should sack him? That's something you've called for in the past, haven't you?
Yes, and I'm even making the call louder this time, that the president should sack Mr. Ajimamenu because he has breached the Constitution intentionally.
Okay.
And he has embarrassed us so much. Somebody who is involved in public financial management for over a decade. If we didn't have obey the Constitution, please,
right.
The president has to sack him. And we must congratulate the minority for bringing this matter back. Because, you know, I to get
But Martin, your connection is a bit patchy. We'll try to see whether it can be better in a short while. Just stay with us, Martin. Don't you go away. Your connection is a bit patchy, so maybe if you could move about a bit so that we can get a better connection. But Collins, how do you react to all of this? The health minister being hauled before Parliament. Some feel that he's not been upfront when it comes to coming to the floor of Parliament to give certain information and all of that. People feel aggrieved with him on the specific Sputnik V matter as well. Are we being fair to Kwaku Ajimamenu, or are we giving him a torrid time for no reason?
The health minister has not refused any invitation from Parliament. And just yesterday or so, he was in Parliament to answer questions. And so let me put it on record that the health minister has always made himself available to answer questions. And when the ad hoc committee was even set up, he cooperated with the committee and appeared before the committee and answered questions as expected of him. And so I just want to put that on record. Our colleagues from the minority are calling for a vote of censure. And with your permission, I would like to quote our standing orders, 108.
Right.
The motion for a vote of censure on the Minister of State shall be moved in the following manner. A, 7 days notice signed by not less than 1/3 of all members of Parliament shall be given. And 1/3 of all members of Parliament, it's about 92 members of Parliament, which I believe they can have because their numbers is more than 91.
We've had.
Now, B says the motion shall be debated in Parliament within 14 days of its receipt by Mr. Speaker, and shall be supported by the votes in secret ballots of not less than 2/3 of all members of Parliament. That takes you to 183.
83.3, and you can't have 183.3 of a human being or 0.3 of a human being, so 184.
So we can just say 184.
Right.
I'm wondering how our colleagues from the minority can garner the 184 number.
Aren't you concerned? Because it's a secret vote. It's a secret vote, just as we did with the election of the speaker, and you lost. Your side lost.
Well, as I said, I don't think that our colleagues from the minority will be able to get a total vote of 184 members to complete this process. And that is why I feel this avenue or this route being used by the minority might not yield the needed result as they expected. Let me say that the minister himself, when he appeared before the committee, was very clear that indeed there were some breaches because he had not gone through a certain process. But I know that sometimes in international transactions, Parliament also, I've seen a lot of ratifications, things done and being brought back to Parliament for ratification. So I know in terms of emergencies, certain decisions can be made on behalf of the good people of Ghana, but can be brought back to Parliament for ratification. And let me say, during the COVID period, Mr. Ajimamenu did his best for Ghana. I mean, he himself, at a point in time, contracted the virus and was hospitalized for 2 or 3 weeks. And so today we are being praised all over the world for our handling of the COVID situation. And he played a critical role in all these processes. It's unfortunate that this had to happen. I think he has learned lessons from it, as he himself said. And I don't think it is fair for me to come on TV and be giving you wrong information. He himself, in front of the camera, did say that he had not sought parliamentary approval and he had not sought cabinet approval. So indeed, he accepts that yes, there was a problem in that process. When the committee met, and if I recall, the report that came to the plenary for debate, and normally when the debate is over, the speaker is to put a question. I remember the speaker declined to put a question. If my thoughts are right, I believe that is where we are at this particular moment. The speaker is yet to put a question.
Yesterday.
He did that yesterday.
Yesterday there was yesterday we approved. Yes, we accepted a report. It is on the basis of that we went on for the censorship.
Okay. I was not. I had left the chamber then, so I didn't know about that. So if we have crossed that path, and now the minority is calling for censure, we are waiting for the motion. I'm sure they will come by a motion. The wording of the motion will ignite the kind of debates that will ensue in Parliament. Of course, if you read Article 108C, it said during the proceedings on the motion, the minister shall be entitled to be heard in his defense. So I'm sure there's an opportunity for the minister again.
And that is to be provided, actually. It's been stipulated that he will be on the floor of Parliament, the Member of Parliament.
Absolutely.
He also is Member of Parliament for Doma Central, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so he'll be there to defend his actions. And as I said, the wording of the motion will determine the kind of debate that will ensue.
Very briefly.
I doubt if the censure is going to be successful.
You doubt it will be successful. Very briefly, Collins, some in the majority, your side, have called this an act of bad faith on the part of the minority. And some have suggested that, yes, he erred, but there should be clemency. This is the law we're dealing with. When you're in breach, you're in breach, and the necessary actions must be taken. Should we temper justice with mercy in this instance?
Well, I think where the deputy majority leader had an issue with the minority was that at the committee, all these things came up. And the discussion was that there was not going to be punishment. If my reading of the report that came is right, the discussion was that the conclusion was that, yes, we accept that he has erred, And let me put it on record also. We are told that the other side of the contract has returned the funds, back into government checks.
Right.
And I think we are all aware of that. So that is where the bad faith came in, because then we had agreed on something. And then we go back to the plenary, and then now the whole thing has changed.
But that was at the ad hoc committee level. This is the plenary, and they are deciding as a caucus that, no, we're going to push this matter forward. Does that make it an act of bad faith?
I think what happened at the plenary was a debate on the report. I'm not sure we edited the report in the plenary. We debated the report, and the report was clear. There was no aspect of the report that says that he should be punished in this manner.
Right.
And that is where the deputy majority that is talking about, that we've all met as a committee, both sides, we've done our reports, we've agreed. The report came, I think the report, there were no divisions in the report. It was a consensus report.
Right.
And then the report comes to the plenary, we do our recommendations, we debate it, and then suddenly you are requesting for something else that is not in the report. That is where the minority, I think the majority leader, had an issue with them. But as I said, censure is part of our standing orders. And everybody, member of parliament, is entitled to raise an issue or come by a motion to trigger this particular issue. But as I said, I'm not too sure, based on the numbers and the calculations, I'm not too sure their approach will be successful.
Okay. So looking at those numbers you point to, the NDC would require some 47 additional votes to pull that off. Martin Kpebu, do stay with us, because the very next issue that I'll be coming to you with, I would want your take on it as well. So don't you leave us just yet. Bawa, now there is this bit about what has happened and an act of bad faith and the health minister. Why now? Why all of this? At the ad hoc committee, you accepted that there would be no punishment for him. Why are you coming back to this point of wanting his head to roll?
No, just to summarize, the mandate that was given to the committee that was put up was to establish the facts.
Right.
That was what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to establish the facts. The committee that was chaired by the deputy majority leader came with the findings. It is on the basis of those findings that the plenary then accepted the report. So we are now using the findings of the committee as a basis to now move on to the next.
So that's your yardstick.
Yeah, yardstick. So there's no question of whether bad faith or not. And the committee, and it's just because Martin has already given that, but just specifically what the motions indicated. It's just a half-page document. We said the subject was a motion for vote of censure. We said that this Honorable House passes a vote of censure on the Honorable Minister responsible for health, Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Menu, in respect of the following conduct. 1, that he to undertake international business or economic transaction, that's a procurement and supply of vaccines, as Minister of Health, with the private office of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum, without prior approval of Parliament, contrary to Article 181 of the 1992 Constitution. 2, that's signing a procurement agreement with the private office of His Highness Al Maktoum and SL Global Limited, with a prior approval of the board of the Public Procurement Authority under Section 41 and 2 of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663, as amended by Act 914, which constitutes criminal offense under the law. 3, that dishonest procurement of Sputnik V vaccines from the private office of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum and SL Global Limited at the cost of $19 US and $18 US respectively, when the ex-factory price of the Sputnik V vaccine generally announced was $10, that's $10 confirmed by the minister to the committee responsible for health.
Right.
And 4, knowingly procuring Sputnik Sputnik V vaccine from private office of the same sheikh at a cost of 19 and 18.5 respectively per dose.
Right.
So basically, and the other one was the release of the 2,850,000,
right,
which Ghana cedi is about 16.331 something million.
Right.
These are the basis, and these were things that were captured in the report. So we just took that and said, look, these are breaches of the law. On the strength of that, we are moving forward to ask for censorship. My brother talks about the fact that we will not get the numbers. It's possible we may not get the numbers, but he should not be too confident because this secret balloting. In secret voting, anything can happen.
Are you suggesting you have confidence that some, in
yes,
the majority
yes,
are against what he has done? That is the health minister.
Collins will not publicly indicate this. But the truth of the matter is that we are confident that there are a number of the MPs in the majority with good conscience who believe that this man must go. They believe in that. They believe in that.
And you believe you can muster the 47?
We will do it. But the first thing is that whether the end result leads to a tutors voting for the motion or not, would have sent a signal that you cannot just take the laws of the country for granted. You cannot run a government entity like the Ministry of Health as if it is a private business. Because there are a number of people who are in courts today, moving from one court to another, because these same type of laws have been breached.
Right.
That this current government is prosecuting.
Right.
So in good conscience, the president should not have been waiting for even parliament to censure this man.
Should have sacked him.
He should have fired him by now. And he should have asked the Attorney General to start his job. He should have asked the Attorney General.
But if the president doesn't feel that he erred...
And see, it is the problem that we have. And maybe, but for President Kufuor and President John Mahama, we have had governments all over the place who are so scared in prosecuting their own people. Under President Kufuor, when, what's his name? Malam Isa's case, he decided to prosecute him and he jailed him. Under President John Mahama,
the infamous money disappearing.
Abuga Pele's case, decided to prosecute him even though he was one of his own. The point I'm just trying to make is that governments must begin to be bold enough to say that wrong is wrong, and that whether you are in my government or you are out of my government, if you break the law, face the law.
Okay.
And so I was expecting that in this particular case, when generally the public, everybody realized that this was so wrong. If you had conducted even just a referendum in this country, I'm sure that overwhelmingly about 80% of Ghanaians would have said that this man must go. And you have the president who was bold enough that even in the face of all these findings, in the face of all these accusations, goes to the man's what's his name, constituency, and says that this man is the most haunted person in the country, and that by meanwhile the guy is working so hard for the country to ensure that we do not have COVID in this country. When you have a president putting his seal of approval on a man who has breached almost any law that came before him, and he does this, then where do we stand? Okay,
so for you it is clear as a minority and you're going to push this to its logical conclusion.
Yeah, definitely we're going to do that.